Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe has announced the 8 preferred bidders who form part of the Risk Mitigation Independent Power Producer Program. The IPPs are expected to provide a combined 1,845 megawatts to the strained grid. It comes as the country faces more crippling power outages. Mantashe says an additional 3 bidders who will provide 3,000 megawatts will be announced at a later stage.
It gives me pleasure, therefore, to announce the following 8 preferred bidders in alphabetical order. Now you listen carefully. 1 is Aqua Power Projects DAO. 2nd is Car Power Ship SA, Kucha. Car Power Ship SA, Richards Bay. Key Power Ship SA, Saldanha. Mulilo Total, Kucha. Mulilo Total Hydro Storage. Oya Energy Hybrid Facility. Umoilanga Energy. Those are the 8 preferred bidders.
Well, let's stay with energy matters. Eskom, of course, has been unable to meet the country's energy demand, and after 6,545 megawatts have been taken out on planned maintenance, resulting in ongoing load shedding. Amendments to the electricity regulations were gazetted in October, which could pave the way for municipalities to source power independently from IPPs. Well, let's speak now about the future of power supply. Joining us is Bernard Mahoro from the Independent Power Producers Office. Bernard, good evening and thank you so much for your time. Firstly, let's talk about some of the announcements that have been made today by the Minister in terms of these 8 preferred candidates. What do we know about these contracts and how exactly they're going to work?
Okay, so the contracts, good evening to you and good evening to the viewers at home. The contracts are structured very much along the lines of all the previous contracts for IPPs in South Africa. So it's a 20-year PPA contract where Eskom will act as a buyer, meaning the IPPs will be selling this energy to Eskom, Eskom will be selling to the consumers, and then the consumers pay back Eskom, Eskom pay back IPPs. So that's very much the model how it's going to work.
In terms of monies and the exchange of monies, are we going to see any kind of prepayments being given to these bidders as part of the contracts with the state?
No, there is no money that is prepaid to the bidders. In fact, the beauty about the IPP model is that the initial investment, the capital costs will all be covered by the IPPs. And Eskom obviously pays back the money on the basis of the energy that is generated. There is a component of capacity charge which is paid, but all of that is paid as and when the energy is delivered by the IPPs. So the risk is allocated to more the IPPs in terms of making sure that the power plant is operational.
South Africans will, of course, be very concerned about what the implications are for them in terms of the cost structure and how much as individuals we will end up paying for electricity, especially because the IPPs are selling to Eskom, which in some instances passes on to municipalities. And at every given point, all those entities are adding their own markup to the cost of electricity.
That is correct. That is how the model works. Currently, there is no competition in South Africa, as you're well aware. So, in fact, what the consumers pay at the end of the day is a bundled tariff where all the different technologies that are generating power are put together. And what comes out of that is a tariff that is a weighted average of all the different cost elements of the different types of generators. So you will not see a price of a specific generator, but obviously when we procure, we run a competitive process so that the consumers get the best price at the end of the day. But ultimately the price is a bundled tariff that is taking into account all the different technologies and the different costs thereof.
Some of this power will include 3 LNG power ships. Speak to us about how that's going to work. And the costing for building this infrastructure elsewhere in the world has often exceeded expectations in terms of the initial costing around it. The time it takes to build also seems to take much longer.
Okay, so the LNG component that you heard about today is where the power ships will be in the ports. I think that is very clear. So LNG will obviously come in via ships because we don't have gas in the country. And that LNG is immediately channeled into generators that are sitting in those power ships. And then what then happens is that that electricity that is produced is then sent into our grid. So there will be a connection between the power ships and the grid whereby we'll be able to receive that energy. That's how it works. And then the down payment that you spoke about, the capital cost for this investment, these costs will be covered by the IPPs themselves. As I said, they recover their investment through the tariff that Eskom and us as consumers will be paying Eskom.
Are there specific countries that we're benchmarking this project against, where we are looking at to learn lessons and perhaps see how they have fared in the use of this technology?
Okay, so the way we have pitched the RFP for this program, it was technology agnostic. So what that means is we didn't specify which technology we are going to procure from. All we specified was what the technology is supposed to achieve in terms of the performance on the grid. And that specification was obviously given to us by Eskom, particularly the system operator. And with that specification, then we went out to look for potential participants to produce that power that can meet that specification. And that's how we came up with the program. It was not only about the gas. As I said, it was technology agnostic. So in there, we've got a number of different combination of technologies. So for the first time, and I'm not aware of any other country that has run this program like we did, for the first time, we allowed a bidder to put together a portfolio of facilities. So you could have a combination of a PV farm with gas storage, which we have in this case as well, or a PV farm with battery storage. As long as they meet the requirement of the system operator, they were able to participate. So what you saw today was an outcome of a process that took us almost 10 months to complete. And we had about 28 bidders that were competing, and 8 of them became successful. And obviously the other 3 that the minister spoke about, we're still going to engage those. So the benchmarking that we have done, sorry?
How soon before it all comes online, sorry?
Okay, so from now until around about July, August, they have to finalize all the different contracts with their suppliers. And by July, we are signing the final agreements. So that is about 4 months for them to conclude that process together with their lenders. And then from July, construction starts. And we expect first power to be online by August 2022. And the last power from these units should be online not later than January 2023.
All right, so still some time yet before that power is available to South Africa. And of course, it gives opportunity for some of these agreements to be interrogated further. Bernard Magoro is from the Independent Power Producers Office.